Tell us about how you came to be in Cincinnati, to be working for Dynamic Catholic. Walk us through that.
Well, I came into the church in 2012 when I was 21, and a big turning point in my journey in coming into the church is I read this book. I don't know if you've heard it before. It's Rediscover Catholicism.
I'm vaguely familiar with it.
Yeah, and I was dabbling in Catholicism a little bit at the time, and there was something drawing me to it, and I didn't quite know what it was. Um, and I was given the book right after Christmas. It was taking the book was literally the only way that I was going to be able to physically get out of that church. Like the person handing out the books was very friendly, but I wasn't going to get out of that church without a book. So took the book, had no intention of reading it, couldn't sleep one night, and thought, what's going to help me sleep? Catholic book sounds good. Matthew Kelly.
Better than Ambien.
Yeah, better. By whoever this Matthew Kelly guy is. Opened the book up, didn't sleep that night because I just tore through it. And I was in college, and I'd been watching college and the collegiate life and the lifestyle and the philosophies that dictated that lifestyle. And I saw it tearing people down rather than lifting people up. I saw them giving themselves over to things that were really tearing them from the inside out. And I'm a person who is all in or nothing. There's very little middle ground for me. If I'm going to relax, there is no movement. If I'm going to get after something, there is no sleeping. Like I'm going to get after it. And so I knew I was going to go dedicate my life to something. And when I read Rediscover Catholicism, it was like, wow, pursuing holiness is the only thing I've ever heard that makes every part of your life better. Like Mother Teresa didn't have a dedication to holiness that then destroyed the rest of her life. Everything bloomed because she was pursuing holiness. And so I was in it. And that book also challenged me to read the Gospels every day for a year. And so I took that on. And that catapulted me into making the decision to come into the church. So I'm coming into the church at 21, and I thought I was going to be a sports broadcaster. It's what I thought I was going to do with my life. I was going to be the play-by-play announcer for the New York Mets. And then I got the sacraments. I was baptized, first communion, confirmation, and God started stirring something else in my heart. And I started to realize that I might be called to something else. So I took this year of basically discernment. Like, God, what are you calling me to do? Where are you calling me to go? Who are you calling me to be? And I was just working to get by, and I'd become an ambassador, and I saw this "we're hiring" email, and I saw two jobs. One was an event coordinator, which I was doing a little bit of, and the other one was the job I really wanted, which was team leader of the First Communion, First Reconciliation program. And I thought, well, I've been Catholic for about 30 seconds, so I'm not sure I'm well qualified to do that. So maybe I could do this event thing. And my resume was on the discard pile, but it was on the top. And Mark Moore, who hired me, said there was something weird about my photo. Not sure what that means to this day. He said there was something weird, and I thought I'd take a flyer. And he called me, and about 10 minutes into it, we were talking about First Communion, First Reconciliation, and came out to meet the team and couldn't believe that this was even a possibility. And was offered a job to be the team leader of First Communion, First Reconciliation. And I wasn't sure that I was ready to leave New Jersey and I was on the fence, and you sent me an email. And in the email, you said, come work with me at Dynamic Catholic. And 40 years from now, you'll be sitting on a back porch with your grandkids, telling them how you were a part of the mission that turned the tide on Catholicism in America.
Mm.
And I remember where I was. I was sitting in my car about to go to my cold calling job, looking at my phone with this email. And I just said in my heart, I believe him. I believe if I say yes, that Dynamic Catholic will do that, and I will get to be a part of it. And that is an opportunity I can't say no to. So all my belongings fit in my car. Literally all my belongings fit in my car. And I rented my apartment sight unseen, and I drove 800 miles from New Jersey to Florence, Kentucky, of all places, and started here. That was about 8 years ago.
So you came, you worked on Blessed,
Yeah.
which I think is arguably one of the most impactful things Dynamic Catholic has ever done. It's the first communion, first reconciliation program, being used by millions of kids and will be used by millions of kids. What was that like?
Well, it's hard to describe that time period for me. When you're single, you hope you have an opportunity to pour your whole life into something that is meaningful and impactful. And very early on, when we sat down and you told me what the vision was for Blessed, the animation, and I saw the early illustrations, and I read the workbook, and I thought, wow, I have an opportunity to pour my whole self into something that will help children believe that Jesus loves them enough to always forgive them and to always be with them.
Mm.
And I still can't think of a better opportunity. Fred Rogers is one of my heroes, and he wrote something. He said that every person who helps a child is a hero. And I was given an opportunity to be a hero on an unimaginable scale. And I know that we have problems now with the world hero, and we think that they have to have capes and magical powers and all those other things. And it's probably a little weird for someone to refer to themselves as a hero. But I'm totally comfortable with it because I believe what Fred Rogers said, which is someone who is kind and loving to a child, is a hero. So that was deeply personally impactful in that way. And then it was amazing personally for me because I got to know my wife on that project. She worked with me very closely on that project. And then I got to do something I'd always dreamed of doing as a child, but never thought it would be possible to do, which is work on an animated series. And you and I worked on those scripts quite a bit together. But to be able to write those episodes with you and to see them come alive is amazing. And for anyone who's watched Blessed before, there are a couple of hidden inside jokes in there that are worth looking at. For example, there's a snake in episode 2 of the first season of First Communion, and I had named the snake Lucifer for obvious reasons, but someone maybe at this table, maybe not at this table, insisted that snake be named Jack. So there's lots of little things in there, but it was a blast. It was really, really meaningful.
What did you think feel, experience when it was all together? When the box was there, you've got the workbooks, you got the leader guides, you got the DVD set. What was that feeling like?
Indescribable, yet nothing like what it was like to see the first email come through of a dad who was traveling to with his small child to the hospital, and staying overnight because of the distance, once a week for a month because his kid was struggling with cancer, and that they would watch those videos together in the hotel room, and that those videos gave both of them the hope and the faith that they needed to embrace that challenge in their life.
Mm.
Now, that was something. So was the moment that the first email came through of a mom who was homeschooling her daughter because her daughter was having some health problems. And her daughter was the only one who went through Blessed. The rest of the kids went through something else because Blessed was the only thing that could be self-contained in the home and was available online that she could order for free and just show up in her mailbox. And when it was time for the first reconciliation, the only one who was excited was her daughter because she had seen Ben and Sarah go to confession
Mm.
and meet Jesus there. And she wanted to have that encounter with Jesus, and she was excited. She wasn't nervous or scared or anything. And she was the first one in.
Wow.
It's like, and that keeps happening. Those were the first two that came up. But those things keep happening, and I've stayed on the blessed email train so that I can continue to be nourished by those things. But that's happening all across the country all the time, and that's just amazing.